Hello, I am Tom Phillips, also known as Tom the Tale Teller. This is my new YouTube channel and the first of a series of videos in which I hope to make, where I try and uncover the folk tales and the folklore that live just beneath the surface of this green and pleasant land in which we live in. We're going to go off for a little walk now to discover the first of the tales that I want to share with you. So come with me and we'll go and find our first folklore found. So, where are we? Well, we are here, in the middle of rural England. We are in Leicestershire, not far from where I live. The first book I wrote was Leicestershire Folktales for Children, and as part of that I had to delve deep into the folklore of the county in which I was born and grew up in and still live today. It was great. I really delved into what made Leicestershire Leicestershire. There was no dragons, there were no massive mythical beasts or fantastic legends like Merlin and Arthur. We didn't have Sherwood Forest and Robin Hood, but we did have some big names like Richard III and some other interesting local folklore. Now, I am right smack bang in the middle of Peckleton, which is behind me, that way. Kirkby Mallory, that way, now famous for its racetrack, and Earl Shilton, that way, next door to Barwell. And I'll stick a little video here, just so you can see where they are. Now, this is a triangle of land that has been owned by various people over the years, and it has a story associated with it. Now, this story was originally told by Ted Orton. He was the one who popularised the story, and you may think, who's Ted Orton? When did he live? Was he a 17th, 18th century folklorist? No, he was the chap that lived in Barwell and Earl Shilton a few years ago. In fact, bless him, poor Ted, he passed away not long after my book, Leicestershire Folktales for Children, came out. So I'll make sure I always give him credit for this one. Now, it's a story that he told many times. He even wrote, you can find the original story, he wrote it up for a Hinckley newspaper, and it's online. That's where I stumbled across it. But after doing a bit of digging, I realised that it wasn't an original story of his. It was based on a story told to him by a woman. She said she'd been told it many times before in the past, and so it clearly come down through the generations. I shall leave it there and not tell you the rest. till I get to the next part of our journey.
Pheasant making his presence known. So I'm down by the stream. This stream cuts straight through that triangle of land going from Peckleton, Kirkby-Mallory, Earl Shilton and back again. And the story starts, well, we don't know when. As I say, the origins of this story is a bit shrouded in mystery and a bit unclear. But it starts back when this land was divided into three pockets. Wealthy men in Peckleton, Kirkby-Mallory and Earl Shilton owned three separate parts. And it was a bit like Romeo and Juliet. The families didn't really get along, and they would get on with their own bits and bobs and get on with their own life, and never should the three interact, really. The Kirkby-Mallory lot never went and socialised with Peckleton lot, and they definitely avoided the Earl Shilton lot. But the story starts with a hot day. Hotter than today. Today is March, coming to the end of March, and it's beautiful. It's about 18, 19 degrees. My story starts with a day 10 degrees hotter than that, mid to high 20s. The people out on the fields were working, for that was their only source of income. It was the landowners that would pay them to plough and till the field. On a hot day like today, this stream behind me would have been a godsend. And so it was that a young man from Peckleton was sent down to get some water to cool the brows of the workers in the field. When he got there, there was another person at the stream. It was a young girl, a young woman. Now these two had been eyeing each other up for many weeks over the brook line. For she was delicate, dainty and fair, and he was young, strapping and handsome. He would often idle over his tools whilst watching her on the far side of the brook, wiping the hard work from her brow. And now, there she was, directly in front of him. He didn't quite know what to say. He wasn't supposed to talk to those Kirkby-Mallory lot. But he whispered. He whispered, "Meet me here tonight." And as he whispered, the words fell out of his mouth. They bubbled and bobbled and bounced across the brook, and they found the ears of that young woman. And she blushed and she smiled as she gathered her water, and off she went. We'll leave it there. And I'll tell you the rest in a minute.
That night, the young man was waiting in this very field. The small triangular grass field now, probably still grass back then used for grazing. And he waited, and he waited. It was dark, it was misty, and through the mist he saw the shape of a woman. Could it be the same young woman? Or could it be her mother? Or someone else? Had she told someone about their secret rendezvous? Was he going to get in trouble? Was it going to be his mother? Well, you can guess what happened. It was a young woman from the other side of the brook, from Kirkby Mallory. When she got there, they began to talk. And they sat and they talked and they talked and they talked. In fact, they talked so long that they talked the moon out of the sky and spoke until the sun rose. The next day in the fields, they didn't feel like doing much work, but they were made to. Every night they would rendezvous here in this very field. The days became weeks and they fell in love and they began doing what lovers do. But then something tragic happened.
Again, what hand holds you under when light becomes over? Who'll get?
Bad news comes at the wrong time. You see, the young man had decided he was finally going to propose, pop the question. He was going to tell his glorious girlfriend that they should run away together down to London, start a new life, get married, have children, grow old together. Stuff the triangular feuds. But when the young woman arrived one fateful late autumn night, she told her lover that her father, well, he was the land baron, he was the owner of the Kirkby Mallory land, and he had arranged a marriage to the son of the Earl Shilton land baron, and together they were going to unite the fields and the land and share the wealth. Now, yes, she loved this young man very much, but she also loved her father and she had a strong sense of duty. And so, despite him begging and pleading with her and showing her a ring that he'd saved up to buy and telling her the plan, that they were going to run away together, she said no. After much crying, it was decided that they would do something to mark their eternal love, for they would still love each other, whether she was married to this other man or not. And so it was that they found an oak seed, an acorn, and an ash seed. And they decided to plant them right here in the middle of this field. And each night, they would come on separate nights, so they would never meet, but they would tend these seeds. And so they would grow together. And as they grew, the branches would intertwine and they'd be forever as one. Which is a lovely story and a lovely sentiment. And you may have noticed I'm sitting behind an oak tree. This oak tree has a fine seat in it, just right for telling stories and finding folklore. And this is the tree. This is half of the tree. I say I wrote this story down. I rejigged it and wrote it and sent a copy of it over to Jenna Catton, who illustrated the front cover of my Leicestershire Folktales book. Also a very good storyteller. Might want to check her artwork and her storytelling out. In my story, I explain how to get here. You park up at the church that you may have seen at the start of the video. You follow the footpath down, over the stile, into this triangle field and wallop.
But the problem is, Jenna took that short walk, she found the oak tree, but then she found this. A few short days before Jenna got here, back in 2017, the ash tree had been cut down by the current landowner. Ash trees suffer from ash dieback, which makes them unsafe and not great. And with a footpath running directly by it, the landowner did the sensible and right thing and removed the tree. Of course, it scuppered the ending of the story. I'd worked in some romantic ending that their branches will be forever entwined like their love. So what was I going to do? I was going to have to change it because now the ash tree had gone, leaving this great big scar you can see all along the trunk. So what could I do? Well, fear not, for what do trees have as big under the ground as they have above the ground? Well, they have roots. As big as the canopy is above, the roots are the same underneath. And of course, the roots of the ash tree are still there in the ground, and so the trees are still intertwined and interlinked. And so their love will be forever remembered. And I know I will remember it. I often come this way. I bring the children sometimes and go for a walk. It's a lovely walk. And if you're ever in the area, park up at the church at Peckleton, short walk over the fields, following the footpath, and you'll get here. And when you're here, you can have a quiet little chuckle to yourself and a smile, that knowing smile that you know what happened here many years ago, because you know where the folklore was found.